All right, good afternoon on the East Coast, at least, to my Empowered Soul Network. I am here with Emily Glaser, and she is an Ayurveda practitioner and astrologer. I'm looking forward to this interview. Thank you for being here with us, Emily. And would you like to introduce yourself a little bit more?
Sure. Thanks, Sandra. Really great to be here. Hi, everyone. I live in Santa Fe, New Mexico, part-time. I also live in India about 6 months out of the year. And yeah, I've dedicated my life to healing and alternative medicine.
Amazing. Tell me a little bit about your background, because I know just in the 30 seconds we were chatting before that you didn't start out that way necessarily.
Sure. Yeah. So I have a background in nursing. And yeah, probably for the first, like decade of my life was trained and working in Western medicine. But I think the entire time had, was studying herbology and different kinesiology. And, I was always like tracking the alternative route, definitely. It wasn't until, I got into my 30s that I, really kind of delved into more of a study of astrology, especially as well as Ayurveda.
Okay. Tell me, so I was going to ask you that if there was a big radical shift for you, or if it was something that permeated even during your time in the more, I guess, allopathic approach to medicine. It sounds like you kind of always had that inkling a little bit.
I always had the inkling, but I do feel like there was a really clear shift. It's interesting because from the perspective of astrology, there's like within a person's lifetime, there'll be like 5 major life transitions that an individual go through. And it's, different time, different age for everyone. But there are real moments that, the whole, the way you do you in the world can really take on a whole new light. So I experienced one of those shifts when I was 29 years old. And that was when, it went from being, maybe just a hobby to like, diving into a deep study of the sciences that I work with today.
Wow. Do you mind sharing with us a little more about what that was for you that was going on at that time? About what created that shift?
Yeah, well, I was working, kind of full-time nursing on a hospital but made the decision to take a full-time program. The cool thing about nursing is that you just, I was working like 3 days a week, right? And so I was able to commit to a full-time educational study of Ayurveda. And that then led to a 6-month internship in India, and also met my astrology teacher, who I studied pretty intensely with for about 10 years. So it all kind of happened. And once I got back from India, I think I continued to work in nursing for maybe a year past that, and then, left the nursing profession and went into, full-time work within alternative medicine.
Wow. So
Yeah.
tell me about Ayurvedic medicine. Can you for those people in listening right now that don't know anything about it?
Okay. Yeah, sure. So Ayurveda, I always say is to India. It's a medicine that's come from India, like Chinese medicine is to China. So basically it's an alternative form of medicine. It's the oldest practice of medicine in the world. They say that everything today has derived from the consciousness and the awareness of Ayurveda. And it's a way of understanding health and mind, body, and soul through the perspective of nature, essentially. So there's this idea in Ayurveda that the macrocosm reflects the microcosm, right? We've got that understanding in astrology too, and that our outer world is really reflecting our inner reality. So Ayurveda helps people learn to align with nature in this way of acknowledging the seasons. And, this idea that as, our seasonal reality changes, that we should have different practices in our life. Simple, but that, our food patterns should change, and, kind of the way we just do our daily routine should take on a slightly different quality, and to assist us in just better health and energy and awareness. So I always say that Ayurveda is a language of just getting to know kind of how that natural world is working within you. We all have an Ayurvedic constitution, and it's made up of an elemental awareness, essentially. Like there's fire and there's water and earth and space and air, and it's within each of us. So once you get to know your constitution, you can then understand how to work with yourself seasonally, and how to, yeah, just attune, I think, to getting to know like what the body may be needing in any particular moment. So it's kind of, when people start to learn about Ayurveda and work with it within themselves, like it can feel almost mad, like it's like, wow, this is like a communication, right, that I didn't know was possible. And it has an essence of something that's kind of miraculous, but it really is just this idea that we're so connected, right, to the natural world, and that health really comes from that awareness.
Hmm. Where did all of this passion come from for you in life? Because obviously nursing, there's a tremendous amount of passion that you would have to helping
Yeah.
people. So when did you notice that within?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I've always, and I use this word with lots of respect. Like I do feel like I am a healer, and that's kind of part of just my development. And so I just think there's always been a gravitation towards, supporting and helping, and all the learning I've done to really be in a place where I'm able to be a facilitator, right, for people that are undergoing their own, transformation.
Mm.
And so, yeah, I think it's deeply in me, and you can definitely see it astrologically, like from my birth chart, the, combinations that are there to kind of bring this, interest through me. So, yeah, I mean, it's been, right, decades, right, of study and development, and my own healing journey. I mean, I could also just describe it from the fact that like I've had to do so much healing in this lifetime,
Mm.
and everything from, I think starting out with, I had a traumatic birth, and there were just some things within that I really had to kind of overcome within myself, some challenges that are connected to that, and addictions, and just parts of myself that have required a lot of support from all sorts of interesting modalities in the healing world. And so it's been my own journey of, learning and recovering, and, just coming into a better version of myself, right, day by day. By no means is it over, there's still work that I'm actively doing to, be just a vehicle of light, essentially.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate you sharing that, because I know that people listening, it's
Yeah.
like to be able to relate to the challenges that we all go through, and
Yeah.
to see, it's always helpful to see how somebody else works with those challenges, and what do they learn from those, and how are they applying them. So I
Yeah.
really appreciate that.
Yeah, I know. I feel like disease and, our health challenges, be it mental or physical, right, they have so much to teach us.
Mm.
And I heard someone say once that, the process of healing is almost like a spiral, right? Where, it is an evolution. And I think, but yet, we always are revisiting and coming back, like coming again. It's like, oh, here I am again, observing this part of myself that, I kind of thought I had figured out, and yet just from a slightly different perspective, or, my age, as age changes and the hormones are transforming, right? It's like another look at, this part of, yeah, what makes me me. And so it feels like there's that. And also this idea that I feel like the journey of healing for each of us, like, may have more to do with like who we meet along the way, and, the particular, right, spirits and souls that, kind of come into our path as we are seeking for our own, for help and moving along on our personal path of evolution. So it's a mysterious journey for sure.
Yeah, yeah,
That of
no
healing.
doubt. I love that
Mm,
you mentioned that spiral. I've used that analogy before too, of just and how sometimes if we look at it from a, a two-dimensional plane, it feels like we're
yeah,
just hitting up against the same thing over and
yeah,
over again. But if
yeah,
we start to take it 3D, it's like the spiral's going up and out and up and out. So it's becomes more of a, oh, I can breathe into the fact that I'm here in this place that feels familiar, but yet it's not. It's on a different level.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You mentioned the word attuned or attunement. So,
Mm,
or at least I heard you say that. Maybe I heard it in my head. But
mm,
when you talk about being attuned with, you mentioned nature, right? The Ayurvedic part, being attuned within myself.
mm,
Can you think of an example that you could share of when you did not feel that way,
mm.
and and then what you learned from that, and where you were able to take yourself through that?
Yeah, sure. That's a great question. I'll start by saying that one of the philosophy of Ayurveda medicine is based in cleansing, really. And this idea that, part of being, healthy and in full expression of our potential, right? The body has to be, it's a vehicle, right, for the spirit to be able to move. And if we're bogged down literally by toxins, that it can be hard to feel attuned essentially to everything from like our purpose in life to like, how do I feel in any given moment, to is this particular food gonna, like good for me to actually eat? And so, yeah, I definitely had, years in my life. I think my 20s, I was not attuned to any of it, right? Eating foods that were totally incompatible to my constitution, making decisions that were not in alignment with the higher good. And yeah, that's back to kind of, having addictions be, part of, everything from coffee to the internet to, making bad decisions in relationships is, as well as alcohol and things like that, right? Just the whole gamut of, bad decision making and lack of attunement. So I think that, one of the things that Ayurveda teaches is, get on the cleansing game, right? Right. Start supporting the body and getting the toxins out and kind of waking up the deep cellular structure to prana and the life force. And the more that we have our life force like moving through the body and flowing, right, we start to notice things. We start to, right, connect to the intuition and connect to, just essentially like the spirit's want for, um us to be able to follow our purpose in life. So when I cleansed my vessel, it really helped me to be better attuned to what was mine to do.
Hmm. It's such a simple and practical um thing to do. I can relate to that. I know I'll do juice cleanses every now and then or things like that, and it's just amazing how clear I feel energetically when I do something like that.
Yeah, right,
How
right.
does astrology play into everything for you?
Oh, astrology. Astrology is it's such a profound tool. And um I feel like the very first astrology reading I had, I was at this moment of 20, 9 years old, and this astrologer said things to me about my past and predicted things that are unfolding in my life today. And this was, I'm 43 right now, so this was some time ago. And I feel like astrology is, it's this, we understand it as a karmic blueprint, right? And it can speak so deeply to, just again, our very essence and, really what we are here like to align with. I mean, talk about attunement. I think to work with astrology, can attune you deeply to purpose and potential and to see the challenges and to also realize that there's, reason for all of it, right? I think astrology gave me the understanding that there is a divine plan and no mistake, right? I mean, when you can see you know, in the chart, right, some of the suffering, right, that is just promised, right, in our lifetime, as well as the, you know, the joy, right? It's all written. And I think it really helped me to surrender to, you know, both my challenges as well as, you know, just my potential, or to come into my potential and kind of work with, you know, where I do have strength and help myself to kind of overcome, you know, the places that are more difficult, you know, for me in my life. So astrology is, yeah, it's a big part of what how I understand reality.
Mm.
And yeah, really fascinating. Thousands of years ago, you know, they say that the astrologers would live with the kings. The type of astrology I study comes from India, and each big culture has its own, you know, astrology system, right? The Greeks had a system, the Mayans had a system, the Chinese have a system. So I studied the Indian system. So that, you know, thousands of years ago, in both China and India, the astrologers would live with the kings, and they would observe the sky and they would observe the king. And so this idea of astrology, I think how it works today is, you know, people show up and you've never met them and they get an astrology reading, you know, but the way it worked was, it was a tool. And the better the astrologer, you know, knew who, you know, he was reading for, right, the more accurate they could be regarding like how to use it as a tool for counseling in life. So astrology, it has so much potential, and it's really incredible, you know, the way it can serve us in just guiding us, right, to our own personal North Star.
Mm. What's the power of that word you said, surrender, to you?
Ah, oof. What's the power of the word surrender? Gosh, I would say, I think there's a humility in recognizing, you know, what is ours to do in this lifetime. And sometimes isn't easy to accept, I feel. I think there can be this understanding, you know, like we use the word dharma, right, all the time. And dharma is this idea of this higher attunement to, you know, our righteous duty before the divine, right? But people will translate it as career, right? What's your career? But it's kind of got a broader scope. But you know, I think this idea of like, what is our dharma and what is our purpose? You know, it may not always be easy, right? So, but I think there can be this false understanding that like, oh, once I align, you know, it's just going to be like a breeze, right? And the suffering will end and the challenges will be over, you know, and I'll just walk this path of glory, you know, and I think that it is like the better we get to know ourselves and the more we kind of attune to our truth, you know, there is a understanding of the path that we are here to walk. And yet it may be slightly different from what we have kind of like, you know, conceptualized as the fantasy of, you know, the way it should look. So I think surrender is part of, you know, just really coming into our truth and being real about how we need to take care of our health and our body, as first and foremost. I think there's a surrender to that, to you know, really choosing, you know, yourself first, and yeah,
Beautiful.
moving well in the world as a result.
I love that. Love it. I wrapped up my interview earlier today with this question. I'll ask you as well.
Yeah.
You've been
Yeah.
talking about it this whole time, but maybe to sum it up,
Mm.
what does being an empowered soul to you?
Mm. Wow. I think I'm working on it. It's a work in
We all
progress.
are.
Yeah, I would say to be an empowered soul, yeah, would feel yeah, that one could, you know, really again walk a path that felt, you know, to them, you know, truly in alignment with their heart, and just a deep intuition of knowing truth. And yeah, I'm again a work in progress for sure regarding that. But it's a good goal to be an empowered soul for sure. To not be victimized by the circumstances, right?
That's a great line right there, right?
Yeah.
That's powerful. And yeah, I think we are all working on that. And we'll
Yeah,
have our moments of empowerment and our moments of disempowerment.
right.
It's just about, for me, I think it's about how can I have more of the moments of empowerment? Let me stretch that side more. Yeah. Hey, thank you for being here with us. This has just been beautiful. Can you let people know how can they connect with you? We'll tag you in the post, and you can drop your links in the comments as well. But just for the purpose of the recording as well, can you share how?
Yeah, sure. My website is tejasveda.com, and yeah, I'm actually leading a cleanse in a week from now. If anyone wants to just dive in and do an Ayurveda cleanse, I do offer that, and coaching and astrology readings. Yeah.
Beautiful. Can you spell the website that you just mentioned?
Oh, yes. It's TEJASVEDA.com, Tejas Veda.
Beautiful. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Emily. Appreciate it. And all of you in Empowered Soul Network, hopefully you've enjoyed that. Once again, have a wonderful day, and we will see you again soon.